Hi everyone. It's really nice to be here at DroidCon Berlin. My name is Rosário Fernandes. I'm a developer expert for Firebase. And in this session, I'll be building with you a very simple app using Jetpack Compose and Firebase. It's going to be a books app. So yeah, Jetpack Compose is kind of like a new tool, so I'm very sure we are all new to it. So you probably learn a few stuff here. You're probably going to teach me a few stuff here. I feel like it's going to be a really nice interactive session. One thing I want to mention is I'll try to detail as much as possible because this is mostly focused. It's designed to be more of a beginner workshop. So if you already have experience with Android, that's good. We're gonna need that. If you don't have any experience with Firebase, if you don't have any experience with Jetpack Compose, it's fine. I'll try to go over it step by step. So let's start by creating a project. I'll assume that you already know Jetpack Compose. I mean, it's been trending for like months now. You've probably heard of it. You probably already know that it is a UI toolkit. So I'm going to through the details explaining what Jetpack Compose is. Something that I do want to mention is the fact that Jetpack Compose requires you to have the latest version of Android Studio, which at the moment it's Android Studio Arctic Fox. So be sure to install that beforehand so that you can get access to Compose. So let's go straight to it. I'll start by creating an Android Studio project. Create a new project, and when they ask us to select which activity we want to use, we can go and use anti-compose activity. I'll name this app a very nice name, which is shelf control. I'm just gonna change the domain here to something more Droidcon. I think the minimum SDK is fine. Let's create the project. It's probably gonna take a while. I know my computer can be a bit slow, Jetpack Compose, so please bear with me. And then during loading times, you can probably take the time to ask questions if you have any questions. I'm sure we're just starting. You probably don't have any questions by now, but soon, whenever you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll try my best to answer in between the session. You don't really need to wait until the end to ask your questions. So while it loads, as you can see, it's already showing me the main activity. There's a lot of code here. You have the onCreate function right there. If you're familiar with Android, you already know this function. You know that it's the function that is called when your activity is created. Something that you'll notice that is different is the fact that this main activity extends from component activity, which is what we use in Compose. Then we have a very new set of code here, which is the shelf control theme, the surface, the grading. I'll try to explain those once it finishes building, but I think it's gonna take a while. So basically, what this gives you is a very basic structure of how Compose works. Actually, gonna hide this for a while so that I can show you some cool stuff. Um, okay, so it's done loading. So the project structure should be the same as you usually see on any Android project. The main difference that you'll notice is the fact that under your resources folder, you will not be seeing the layouts directory. And that's because we are no longer writing layouts in XML. We're actually writing everything in Kotlin. So here on your main screen, you should be able to see some new stuff. There are some classes that hold constants. So for example, the colors are defined as constants here. There are some shapes predefined for you. You can create more if you want. they already set a theme, and apparently this theme supports dark mode, which is pretty cool. And there are typography types as well, so that you can play around with your fonts and things like that. Now let's jump straight into main activity. As you can see, the send content methods looking different. We have a theme applied there. This is the stuff control theme that was defined in this class. It was already predefined for us. We're just gonna use that. It's fine. So I'm not going to detail into what the theme does, but basically it just applies the colors that you predefined. And then it's calling this greeting, which is a composable. So basically, a composable is a function. All composables are functions. If you're coming from like Flutter, if you have any experience with Flutter, you probably know that everything is a widget in Flutter. So a composable is almost the same as a widget. The main difference would be the fact that you actually have to annotate a function to create a composable. I know it can be a bit different from what you're used to if you're coming from the XML layouts, but trust me, once you start using Compose, you just get used to the idea. So let's see what else they have in the main activity. They have this composable called greeting, which basically just creates a text, and the text says hello and whatever name you're passing in there. As you can see here, by default, they're passing Android. And they have this function here, which is a preview. And what the preview does is it allows us to check the preview for this function, or for this composable in this case. So this preview should show us the greeting, so that we can see what the greeting looks like in our editor. So I'm actually waiting for it to finish building so that we can see the preview in here. It does take a while in my computer, so I might not be able to preview everything that we're gonna do today. Instead, I'll just run it on my phone because I feel like that's a bit faster, and I'll be able to show you guys the application running instead of showing you from the editor. But preview is usually the recommended way for you to test your composable. You're gonna see what they're gonna look like. Okay, waiting for build to finish. There we go. I hope it shows something. Okay, there we go. So basically, this is our first composable. This is what it should look like. Um, I'm not sure if I'll be able to run this on my phone. Can check. I'll also share the screen with my phone so that you can see. Oops. Okay, hasn't loaded yet. Let me just finish building it. And by the way, in an effort to save some time, I actually went ahead and created this project already, and then kind of like left the app running on my phone so that in case something goes wrong or in case we don't have time, I'll be able to show you what it looks like. So, okay, so this thing is still running. Okay, launched. So basically, when you start with Compose, this is what they give you. Oops. This is what they give you. It's just a blank screen with the text "Hello Android." So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna try and create a list of books, and then we'll be able to add some new books to that list. But like instead of having this list be loaded from memory, we will actually have it be loaded from Cloud Firestore. which is a database provided by Firebase. But before we get into all of that, let's start simple. Let's start with a very simple list in Compose, and we can start by creating the model class. Um, if you're already familiar with Compose, this probably sounds boring to you because you already know all of it. But I'm trying to focus on the beginners, to be honest. Um, so go ahead and I'll create a book class. Um, and I'll save some properties about every book. Let's say the book's title, the book's author. Make sure if you can see properly. I'll actually increase the font a bit just to make sure. So it's probably better now. And the publication year. So I want to say three specific properties about each book. I'm actually gonna go ahead and add some default values for it. This is actually required by Firebase because they need a way to parse this data. Which I'll show you in a bit when we are reading the list from Firestore. At the moment, this shouldn't be required, but I'm already doing it ahead of time so that I don't forget. But so basically, we're storing three properties about each book, two strings and one integer, title, author, and the year. So what I'm gonna do now is actually create that list. So we could have it maybe here, let's say books equals a list of books. So I'll add some test books. So an example book, Zero Number, publication year 2019. I can add another book here. So let's say Android from chat. Publication year 2021. Maybe just one more. 21. Check. So now we have a list of books. If you're coming from the XML layouts, you're probably thinking we would need to create an adapter for this, a recycler view adapter, create a view holder for it, and then display all of this data in the layout. But in Compose, this is actually pretty simple. I'll create a composable specific for that. So we say books list. And again, a composable is uncomposable if you have the composable annotation. And for this list, I'll actually pass that books list as an argument. And what I want to do is create a list. And to create a list in Compose, use this composable called basic column. This is gonna give us a vertical list. If you wanted something horizontal, you could use lazy row. So creating a lazy column, I want to give it some items. That one and this one, which takes a list. Give it some items, and then for each item or for each book, we tell it what do we want to display. So right now, since we're getting started, I'll just display a simple card. Um, and then inside this card, I want to display some text, and it could be, for example, the book title. So I'm gonna try to run this on my phone so that I can show you how it looks. Oh, actually, we never called this function. I'll actually replace the greeting with the function books list, and I'll need to pass those books. I'll actually bring these over to the main activity. It's easier that way. And this could be private. Now I can run it. So basically what we're saying here is we're creating a lazy column, which is practically a list. We're giving it some items, and for each item, it should create a card. A card is a composable, so that's like if you already design UI, you probably already know the material design cards. That's what's it gonna look like. There's a text, and the text that we are trying to display is just the title. So it should show us these three titles. Let me check on my phone. So this is what it looks like right now. As you can see, all the text is up there. It's on the left side. The cards are actually there, but we can't see it because of the color. You can actually change that a bit. So let's try to maybe improve this list. As you can see, the list is already here. It's just not looking that good. We're just gonna try and improve it. And the way that we do this in Compose, when you want to apply styles or anything, you do it by adding a modifier. So I can say that this lazy column has a modifier. So modifier is basically a property that most of composables have, and they help you style your composable. So in this case, I want my list to take the full width of the screen. So that's what that modifier does. I probably want the same thing to happen to my card. So you probably know this as either match constraint or match parent. The behavior is pretty similar. So full width. I probably want to add one more style to my card. I want to add some padding around it. So in order to do that, I can just uh, put it together in the same modifier. So here I'll say padding, and I want on all sides. I'll say let's go with 40 key. And as you can see in Compose, when you're writing units, you just do the number dot the unit. Then you're probably gonna have to import this unit because it's actually an extension variable for integers. In this text, maybe I might want to have some margin as well so that it looks a bit better. I'll add the padding. I'll say maybe 8 dp. I hope that's nice. Let's see how it's gonna look. Okay, there we go. As you can see now, the cards look a bit more like real cards, and there's more spacing around it and stuff. This is actually scrollable, but since we don't have enough elements, you can't see it. But what I'm gonna do is actually add some more elements so that this becomes longer. And we will be able to scroll through it. Okay, so now that we have a longer list, we're actually able to scroll up and down. And as you can see, we didn't really need to create any adapter. We didn't create any view holder or anything like that. We went straight to the codes and we just this amount of lines, we created a nice looking list. We probably want to display some more data, not just the book title. So we could do that by using this composable called column. And what this does is basically it orders all the composers inside of it. So we have a text here. I want to have like a second text, and this text is gonna be like a bit below the other one. And then if I want to have a third one, I can do it, and then it's gonna be below it. So a column usually organizes all the composables vertically. If you used a row would organize the composables side by side. So this is title, then we can have maybe the author in here, and finally the year. Actually, the year is a string, so I mean it's a mutable, so probably have to turn it into a string. There we go. I will go put it on the app so that we see how it looks. There we go. So there we have the first book, lesson data, second, and then we have the whole list. It's looking a bit better. I know it's not perfect, but it's a demo, right? We're just trying to show what Compose can do. I'll actually go ahead and just remove the paddings a little bit, and drop this, and keep the rest. But okay, so now we have a list, but we're loading this list from memory. We might want to have it loaded from somewhere else. In this case, I want to have a database for my app, and then we can load from there. And the easiest way to create a database, at least in a mobile application, I would say it's Firebase. What is Firebase? Firebase is basically a serverless platform that allows you, that provides you different tools which you can use to build your mobile app. So Firebase is available for Android, iOS, and web. And it gives you many basic services that are very common to use in app development. I'm talking about authentication system. I'm talking about a database, a place to store your images or files. I mean, the files from your users, the images from your users, and things like that. So there are a lot of Firebase products. I think, oops, okay, that's odd. I think actually wanted to show you a list of Firebase products. You can check that out. It's taking a while to load. So like I said, there are many projects to build your app. In this list, you can actually see this link. You can actually see all of them. Here we're seeing the tools that we use to build apps. Then there are some to help you release and monitor apps, and there are some to help you engage with your users. So here we have this database called Firestore, and there's also another database which I'm not going to explain today, but it's the real-time database. It's the first one that Firebase had, and then they also added Cloud Firestore, which came as a second database. But today we're going to use Cloud Firestore. There are some tools like remote config, cloud functions. Authentication is pretty nice for you to help your users log in and sign up. There's cloud messaging to help you deliver notifications. There's hosting, there's cloud storage. Let me just log in once again since my browser crashed. I'll actually stop sharing so that I can log in, and I'll be able to share again in a bit. I'm just logging in here. There we go. So in order to get started with Firebase, you can just go to this link, which is console.firebase.google.com. They will ask you to sign in or sign up with a Google account. Once you do that, you should see a screen like this. You probably won't have some projects already created for you. You can go ahead and create a new project. The process should be pretty simple since it has a wizard, and it's just as simple as giving it a name, continuing, and then checking some stuff, and then they will give you a screen which looks like this. I'm not gonna create a project because I already have one. I'm just gonna use the one that I already have. So a new project should look something like this. You just won't have this Android app. We're gonna add it. So on the left, so this is the Firebase console. And on the left side, you will actually be able to see a list of all the products that are available to you. I see now that my console is actually in Portuguese. Sorry about that. I think that's the default language in my Google account. That's why it's getting the Portuguese language. But at least the products are in English, so it should be easy for you to find them. So here we have like authentication. Like I said, authentication is a great tool for you to authenticate your users, to provide login or sign up functionality. And then what we're gonna be using today is Firestore, which is basically a database. But the main thing to note about this database is that it's a NoSQL database. So if you're coming from a SQL background, you probably be wondering where are the tables, where are the rows, where are the columns. There's no such thing in NoSQL. In Firestore specifically, we actually have collections and documents. So as someone who likes to who came from a SQL background, I like to think of collections as tables. I like to think of documents as rows. So you have a collection. Inside that collection, you can have many rows, and each row will represent like, I mean, each document will represent a certain row of data. So here I already had created some examples. So I have this collection called books. On this side, you see all the collections. Right now, I only have one. Inside the books collection, I have three documents, and these random strings of characters, they are actually the IDs of each document. I assigned random IDs because I don't really care how am I gonna identify the book, but as long as it's here, it should be fine because I'm just trying to list them. I'm not going into detail on like how to identify them. So if I click on this book, I can see the data for it. They have an author, they have a title, they have a year. Same thing goes for the next one, and then for this one too. So what we're gonna do right now is try to load this list into our app. And in order to do that, we have to first connect our app to Firebase. And we can do that by coming back here to the dashboard. And when we are on the dashboard, there's a button here which should say add app, which adds an application. And then they say select a platform. So we have iOS, Android, and web, and also Unity. I'm gonna go ahead and add an Android app. They're gonna ask for the package name. I remember setting this earlier, and it should be on our build.gradle file under application ID. So we're gonna copy that, paste it here. Gonna say icon. This is an optional field. It's just basically a name that you would give, a friendly name that you would give to your app for you to recognize it here on the Firebase console. Go ahead and click next. And then what they're gonna give us is a Google services.json file, and this is basically a configuration file that we have to download and paste it on our application. As you can see, the image is trying to show you where to paste it. It's basically your application directly /app, and inside app you can paste the JSON file. So that's what I'm gonna do. take this file, come over to shell control. There's the app directory. I'll paste it here. So now that we pasted it, I will click next, and they show us the code that we need to add. In this case, we need to add the Gradle plugin for it and the dependencies as well. So I'll first copy this, like come over here to Android Studio, paste it under these dependencies. That's the Gradle plugin. If I come over here, I'm gonna switch to Kotlin because we're using Kotlin. We need to add this line. Um, I think Android Studio changed a bit, so we can actually just go ahead and write it like this instead of calling apply plugin, and then copy the dependencies. So I'll add this dependency here for the platform, and then specific tools that I want to use. In this case, I don't really need analytics. It's optional. That's one of Firebase tools that are provided. But instead, I want to use Firestore. So this is the dependency that I'm gonna add. Then synchronize my project. So while it's synchronized, I can come here and click next, and they're gonna tell you that you're all set. And once you do that, you can continue, and you should be back and see your app is already added here. So let me see if this gonna synchronize. Okay, good. Apparently it is done. So now that we have Firestore added to the app, it might be a good idea to create a view model for our main activity. So that's what I'm gonna do right now, because this way we can have like a proper separation of UI and data, right? So we don't want to mix those two. I'll actually create a new package here. I'll call it view model, and I can create a class which I'm gonna call, let's say, main view model. So this is a view model. If you're familiar with Android, if you're familiar with the Android most common architecture, which I would say is MVVM, probably already know how to create this. But basically, you can extend from the view model class, and then what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna create um, a live data object, which is gonna hold our list of books. So I'll start by creating a private variable. It's gonna be a mutable live data list of books, and then a private one, which is the one that we're gonna observe. Make data good, and then books. So right now we have the live data which we are gonna observe. What I wanna do is, like, when the view model is initialized, I want it to load or to add a listener to our Firebase database. Something that I didn't mention is the fact that Cloud Firestore has some real-time capabilities, which means you can easily synchronize the app with the backend database. So that means that if you write a new value to the database, the app should be able to detect it instantly and instantly display it to the user. If the user adds a new value, then the database should be able to receive it pretty quickly as well. So we'll be able to see that in a bit. Let's just add the code for it. So in order to do that, let's go ahead and call Firebase Firestore, and then we need to call to our collection. And if you remember, our collection was actually named books. Um, Where is it? It's loading. It's taking a while, but I'll go ahead and write it. Books. And now that I have the collection, I might want to add a snapshot listener. This snapshot listener uses a value or an error. Both are nullable, so if there's an error, value is gonna be null, and error is gonna show you the error that happened. If there's no error and we are actually able to display the data, then error is gonna be null, and then value is gonna be able to give us the data. So let's check if value is not null. I'll do that using the let function, and value is actually a query snapshot. Because that's the way that this is a concept in Firebase in general, but more specific also in Firestore. That every data is usually provided to you by using what we call snapshots, but it's basically like a snapshot of how the data looked when Firestore was able to fetch it to your device. So with this snapshot, what can we do? We can actually get what this snapshot gives us is that list that we're loading from the books collection. So what we really need to do is actually parse it to a list, and there's an easy way to do that, which is I'll actually create, let's say, book list. And the easy way to do it is by calling to objects and then saying that this is a list of books. This simple code should do it. If there are no books in that collection, for example, or if the collection doesn't exist, we will just get an empty list returned from this to objects function. So now I can actually set the books to our live data, do it by calling post value and send the books. If we have any errors in this, handle them here. So I'll leave it to do for us. Handle any errors. Okay, this video model should work for us. Now what we really need to do is call this view model from for main activity. I will do that here. So I'll say view model. Initialize this cutting delegate these view models. I want to make view model. Okay, have it. So here I can just I'll actually create a different value for books. I'll say this is view model dot books. And in Compose, we actually have this concept of states, which I haven't explained it yet, but I'll try to do in a bit. But basically, it holds a state, and the state is something that you can observe so that your app can react to it when the value changes. So actually an easy function to help us transform a live data into a state, but that's provided in a separate library, which I need to add to my project, and I'll do that here. So it's under x.compose runtime. I think it's runtime/live data. So I'll do that now. Synchronize. And now I can just call on this live data, I can call the function observe state. And for this function, I can actually give it a default value in case no values come from there. You can go with empty list and we will display nothing if there's nothing coming from there. And now I can delete this list that I had here in memory so that we only have one list. What am I missing? Anyways, I'll just call it the value. So this should work because this is a state, so we want the actual value. Let me try and run this. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to go to the mic next to you and ask.
Excuse me, do you hear us?
Yes, I hear you.
Is it possible if you go back to a steps to where you added the dependency for observe as a state?
Sure.
Because I think we
This
can't
is it.
follow as quick as you do it, so that would be great. Thank you.
It's fine. Yeah, so
Awesome,
this
thanks.
is the dependency. It's Android x.compose.runtime and then runtime live data. Um, I understand you can't follow it as quick. I'm actually trying to be fast because of time. I know we're kind of limited on time, but then I think the recording is going to be available to you, so do not worry about that. Okay, so I think the app is running now. As you can see, here's the list that we have in Firestore. Um, test, book one, book two. So I think this would be like the really cool part. I'm actually going to reduce this tab in here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a new document. And like I said, whenever you add something new to the database, it should be almost instantly displayed on the app itself. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a new book here. So.com of the Rosario and publication year. So number 2021. And when I hit save, if I look at the phone, there we go. The value is already there. So that's one of the features that I really like about Firestore. The fact that it can synchronize in almost real time. Even if I go ahead and delete any book, let's say this test book, I can go ahead, delete it. It goes away in real time. Perfect. So now we have our list of books being loaded from Firestore. What I want to do now is add the new book straight from the app, and we can do that. Let's just go ahead and maybe add a floating action button here, which is gonna take us to like some kind of form, and then in that form we can insert new book data. So here in my main activity, I'm gonna call a composable called scaffold. I don't know why it's called scaffold, but I know in Flutter they use this term as well. So it basically give us a better app structure. So if you wanted to like have a toolbar in there, you can use scaffold and then add. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's top app bar and then add an app bar. Sorry, if you want to have a bottom bar, I think you can also have that so that you have like a bottom navigation bar. And I don't really need any of those. What I actually need is a floating action button. So let's go ahead and a floating action button here. I'm gonna skip the on click for now, but I really want an icon. So icon, another icon here. Okay, I forgot how to add the icon. But anyways, we can check that really quickly. Who's working? Yes, we are loading live. Let's see really quick. Let's add the icon. There we go. Perfect. So it's actually the icon that I was looking for, which is the add icon. So add group. And so the ideal thing would be to maybe move to a different screen and have a form in there. I could obviously create a new fragment for this, since that's one of the purposes of the navigation component in Android Jetpack. But what I'm gonna do is I'll create a new activity only because it's easier to do that instead of going into the topic of the navigation component and how it works in Compose. It does work, I'll tell you that, but I'll not be explaining in this particular presentation or workshop. You can, but you can always like do some research and check the documentation to see how to use it. I'll go ahead and create a new activity. Think from here, create and then add this activity. No, I don't see it. Maybe I'm missing something, but I'll just go ahead and copy this new activity and give it a different name and change the values. So let's say add activity. So this becomes a group activity. Don't have this blue model anymore. I'm actually gonna comment because I'm gonna need it later. We don't need an action button anymore. Okay, let's get rid of those composables, all of them, because we're gonna create our own. So right now, this activity should be empty, blank, nothing on it. Something that I cannot forget is to add this activity to the manifest. I'm gonna do it now. Add group, and let's give it a theme. I'll go to the label so that it can look different from the other one. Okay, I have it on the manifest. Now let's try and create a form, right? So can go ahead and create it here. What I'm gonna do is I want to have a column to be able to organize all the fields. Um, and you can go ahead and use the material design fields. They should be already available for you when you create a new project, because by default this package is applied. This package called compose.material. It comes with some pretty cool material design components, including the text fields. So that's what we're gonna use. We're gonna use this outline text field, and this field requires us to provide two arguments, and those are usually set by a certain state, which is what I was talking to you about earlier. So like I said, basically a state lets you observe values, and then your UI can react to it whenever the value changes. So in order to create a state, you can just declare, let's say, title. We want the title, and we need a function that is gonna set the title for us. So this would be kind of like the getter. If this was Java, getter, and then a setter, and then you can say it's equals to remember is a function from Jetpack Compose, which helps us with states. I'm gonna import this, and immutable state. We can start with an empty string for the title. So like I said, this is the getter, this is the setter, and those are actually the values that we're gonna pass to our text field. So by default, the first value should be an empty string because that's the title that we set right now. We're initializing an empty string, and then whenever it changes, we want this function to be called, which is set title. This function basically just puts the title back into this state. So now that we're done with this, I can actually maybe add some modifiers to it. You might want to like fill all the width again, just like we did with the card. So I would say pretty much width, and then maybe add some padding. Um, for this, maybe add some modifier here as well. So I want to add some space at the bottom. Just say bottom has padding of 40 feet, and I'm gonna create some more fields for author and also for the year. So I need to create states for those as well. So we have author and we have step author. We have year and set year. We're gonna replace the values here. For the year. And finally, we might want to display a button. A button already gives us one click. I'm gonna leave it empty for now. Just gonna show tell it what text to display. So this button should only say add book. Of course, here you can just go ahead and call that string if you already have like those values on your strings.xml file. But since this is just a demonstration, I'll go ahead and use a string value here. One final thing is the floating action button actually need to call that activity, and we can do that by doing it the same way that we do in Android. This hasn't changed in Compose, so you can go ahead and call intent with this and add so we're starting the activity using the intent the way we've always done, even in the XML days. And so what I'm expecting to see is a form with 3 fields. So there's a field for title, a field for author, a field for year. I'm actually gonna add a label to each form to make it easier for us to distinguish them. So say label is this text. Say title, and then something for the author, and something for the publication year. And we will run it. There we go. There's our list. There's our button. Click on the button, and there's our form. So fields for book title, book author, publication year, and we just need to finish adding this book. Something you might notice is the fact that the year probably shouldn't use this keyboard. We might want to use like the numeric keyboard. think we can change that really quick. We just come here to the text field for the year and set keyboard options. Keyboard options. Keyboard options. Input, don't remember what it takes as a argument. I can just check. Oh, keyboard type. So say the keyboard type equals keyboard type dot number. So the keyboard options allows us to change how does our keyboard, how our keyboard shows up. And I'm gonna run it. I think I'll just run it all together so that you can see the final thing. But since we are still here, maybe let's just go ahead and code this add button book. We should probably, since we created a view model for the list, we should probably create a view model for the add book, for adding the book as well. So I'll do that too, so that we can keep a consistent architecture. I'll say add book view model class also extends view model, and then we have a function here, say specific add book or specific. And in this function, we're gonna set a book parameter, and then we need to save this to file store. So I'm gonna call firebase file store the collection. We want to save to the books collection, so books. And to save, we can call add. What this add method does is it's gonna create a new document. It's gonna assign it a random ID, which looks exactly like kind of like those that you see on the console, and then it's gonna set your value. But if you want to like create or customize the document ID by yourself, you can instead call document, give it an ID. So I would say something like random ID, and then after it call set, and then set the book. This would like save this book with this ID which I wrote random ID. But that's not what I want today. I actually want to let Firestore create the document ID. So here I'll go add. I think this should work. Let's go back and call our view model here. I'll run comment this line, and this time I'll just call add book view model. And on this button click, just call the view model dot say book. Oops, I noticed I haven't created the book yet, so let's go ahead and do that. Create a book object. This book should have the title that we have already created here. So this title, which is being changed later on the text field, but we can go ahead and access it. Title, author, and year. Again, those values are coming from up here. So, oh, the year is an integer, so we need to actually pass it to int. And then we can save book, and this function should do it. Let's run and see. Once again, I'll open my console so that you can see it. Okay, I think the app is running now. And here I click add book. Let's run my book. So let's go. Although families, they're all writers, don't worry about it. As you can see, the keyboard is now numeric, so that's pretty nice. Can type here 2009. Let's add book and hope it doesn't crash. It didn't, as you can see. Instead, it added a document here. So this should be one more book. Yes, that's it. I can actually try and add one more. Uh, you should see it appearing up here in this collection. I click add book. There we go. The book is there with a new random ID. And if I go back to my list, let's go back. Can we go back? Oh, there we go. The list is there. This list is the same as this one, so be able to see uh, everything. So this is basically the list, and then creating a new book. Of course, you could do more operations. You could want, for example, to click on a book and then be able to see details of the book or more data about the book. You might want to edit a book, but the logic for those are kind of similar as what we have done before. So, for example, if you wanted to see a specific book, you just come here and instead of like adding the snapshot listener to the collection, you would do something like this. You would have the collection, you would call document. This document, you can pass it the document ID, a random one, and then you would add it to this document instead. And instead of getting a query snapshot, you would actually get something that is called a document snapshot. And then you can parse it the same way. You would call like the to object function, which would parse it into a book. Then you could display this to your UI. Something else you may want to do is instead of getting a specific document, you might want to, for example, run a query. So you would find like all books which were published in 2021. You can do that in your collection. So you have the collection, you call this function called where equal to, and then we give it a field, in our case, publication year, and we want everything that is equal to 2021. We'll do something like this, and then you keep going with your snapshot listener, and everything should be the same. If the query that you're looking for is not equal to, you can actually try things like where greater, oops, where greater than, where less than, and there are different kinds of queries that you can run on Cloud Firestore. Something that I would like to point out so that you don't get disappointed in the future is that Firestore does support a lot of queries, but if you're coming from a SQL background, you might actually miss some queries that Firestore doesn't support, things like full text search, but there are always workarounds and things that you can do in order to like have those features in Firestore. But I'm not gonna go into details into this. I just wanted to warn you that you might actually feel that you need more queries, but Firestore already provides you a good number of queries. What else is missing? I think the only thing I haven't spoken about is how you update a book. It's similar to the save function. You can just go ahead, call collection, books, and then you should already know the document that you want to update or the book that you want to update. Let's say I'm updating the book with a random ID, and you can go ahead and you could either call set, which is basically gonna replace the whole book, so it doesn't check for differences between the old value and the new one. It's just gonna go ahead and replace. But you can also call update, and update actually takes a map. So if you only want to update certain fields, you call update, and the fields that you didn't include in your map are gonna get updated. They're just gonna stay the way they were, and it should be fine. So those are the two functions that you can use to run updates. It's either set or update. Set is gonna override everything, while update is just gonna override whatever you specify that you want to override. So I think we only have 10 minutes left. I would like to leave this to you guys, to everyone, to ask questions, make comments or anything. I think this is all I had this workshop. Thank you so much for sticking until the end. And yeah, the QA time.